Welcome to this week's edition of the Astral Vortex. It's nice to be here. It's good fun too. I'm really enjoying doing these streams, these live streams. So look forward to people jumping on. And this is a great topic. Looking at meeting your guides in the astral, and this whole notion of spirit guides was something totally new to me when it first started. So the beautiful thing about the astral is that it's very, very real. Like it's not. I've done certain courses where you aim at connecting with certain aspects of yourself and that kind of thing. But in the astral, it's so full-blooded, it's so real. In fact, it's realer than this reality. And that's the sticking point. That's what got me so keen to know more about the astral and actually changed my life. So I'll talk a little bit at the beginning about what I mean by guides and stuff. So that whole vocab of spirit guides was something totally new for me. I was not a new age. I was not into any kind of spirituality. And I'd just been into meditation since my 20s, just into, relaxing my body, relaxing my mind, and just losing anxiety. That's basically what I thought meditation was. Hi, Marie. Good to see you. Good to see you aboard. I think you'll like some of this stuff. I know you've been to a couple of workshops I've done. And it's there you go. Good to see you here, Marie. And this will also tune into some of the stuff we've talked in workshops, but just in more depth, how to connect to your spirit guides. I think to know they're real, what does it mean, spirit guides? Is it different in the astral to other guides? Do they change? Who are they? Where have they come from? Are they ex-human? Are they alien? What's actually behind all this stuff? So all I can talk about, and as I've always done, it's just really my experience. Okay, the experiences I've had. That's all I can really draw upon, and where that's led me to want to know more. So generally, I will research things when I've had the experience. I'm not going to research stuff before the experience because that's just me. And also, I think to be a blank canvas is not bad in this kind of field. Just to because that's where it's transformational, is when you have the direct experience. That's really what I love about the astral experience, is that it's not hearsay, it's not something you read in a book. It's not some kind of add-on, some kind of new religion or anything like that, or it's not even a belief system. So the astral is, as I said before, it's so full-blooded, it's so in your face, it's so uber real. And that's what will keep you going back for more. And for me, my greatest teachers have been in the astral. My greatest learnings, my embodiment, if you like, from these transformative experiences have all originated in the astral. And when we talk about the astral, I mean the outer body experience, loosely in the astral fourth dimension, but also above. So our astral body, just to go very briefly, our astral body is a bridge body that can go beyond the astral dimension. So you're able to move into higher phases of consciousness. And the great thing about an astral body, remember, it comes from the Latin word astrum, meaning star. It is a star body designed to navigate the cosmos. And the cosmos can mean many things to many people, but that can be interdimensional realms, the physical realm on other levels, as in the universe. It can be past lives. It can be the Akashic records, all of these things. So broadly speaking, the astral body, and when I'm talking about the astral realms, these are these bridge realms that we are able to interface with as mortal consciousness. What I mean by that is we're able to remember it, we're able to experience them as real, as uber real. We're able to translate it into our mortal framework. So that's where it's a bridge body, the astral body. So getting into the whole guide experience, and then we'll talk about anything you want to bring up too. But how it first started with me, okay, I started having these astral body experiences. This was in 1999, so many years ago, 26 years ago now. And okay, if I look at my mindset at the time, it was a little bit, is that all there is? Like, as in life, like you work and you make money and you play and you have relationships and all that. But my mindset was a bit, is that all there is? I wasn't looking for any kind of bizarre spiritual experiences or any bizarre phenomenon or out-of-body stuff. And then it started happening, as many of you would have heard. So I started having these experiences, and then pretty soon, when they became pretty full on in my face, as in extraterrestrial connections, as in high tech scenarios where, like, I'd have screens fitted in my third eye, downloads that I would feel at the back of my left back of my brain. I'd actually feel actual like hieroglyphs being downloaded into these little computer screens being fitted into my brain, lasers going to my brain, being shown other worlds, as in alien worlds and alien civilizations, which I had not been into, wasn't on my bucket list or wasn't on my interest list. And then also being shown past lives, and I had a feeling that it was kind of very personal. So I was in a state where I was having these experiences spontaneously. This is before I'd learned or had some semblance of control. Okay, so I just thought, this is bizarre. I'm going out of body. My body's asleep, woken up by vibrations, and that has a lot to do with guides, by the way, the vibrations. Woken up by lights and frequencies, taken out of my body to these uber real scenarios, more colors, more vibrancy, more memory, and very profound, very loving, ecstatic feelings after waking up from them. So then I put my foot down, and this is something I do teach. I might not have talked about this, Maria. I know you're at the last workshop. I can't get always to talk about all these things at these 4-hour workshops. But anyway, I remember at that time when I met my guides for the first time in the astral, and I'll get into this in detail because it's interesting for you, I think, because you can recreate this. What preceded it was me stamping my kind of sovereign spiritual foot on the floor. So I'm having these experiences, spontaneous. I had no control. A little bit of the feeling of abduction, in that I'd be woken up by things, pulled out of my body, often unceremoniously. What I mean by that is, yanked out by the ankles. More than not, I'd choose to go with it because it was interesting. And also, the first experiences I had were very heartfelt, very loving, very light induced, that kind of thing. But once again, the main signature is that you're sleeping generally before dawn. I was being woken up by the lights coming to my third eye, or vibrations will be going. So literally a vibration that would wake me up while my body's asleep. So you have enough consciousness to know that your body's asleep. That's where it's different to a lucid dream. And there is the feeling of movement. So on this particular fateful evening, or rather fateful morning, I'd been putting my foot down saying, okay, give me something concrete, guys. I'm a little bit pissed off. I kind of poured my emotion into this psychic experience because I was going out of body. I sort of thought, okay, show me something. Now, I was already in the way of kind of talking the experience into my field because I was a fraction concerned. Someone had told me, don't go astral, body snatching, not good to do, it's inhuman, negative, the baddie, the demons, all this. And I remember I thought about it for some time. It was still happening anyway, but I thought, jeepers, really? And then I thought, nah, it's too good. This experience feels too real. It's like swimming in the sea for the first time. Would you give it up? Well, I wouldn't give it up, swimming in the sea. If someone said, don't swim in the sea. So I decided very much to press the lever, pull the lever, and keep on going out. When I say that, I mean I wouldn't abort. Like I would allow myself to be taken out. Occasionally, I aborted when I didn't want to go out, so I could choose to stay in my body. But I did put my foot down, and I said, okay, I want something that is not obtuse, because in the astral, it's often very cryptic. It does speak to your bones. It speaks to your body, like you embody these changes or the things you learn. So you all of a sudden have a download when you have the experience, and you know it to be so. It was like the past lives. I knew it. I knew I had these past lives, even though I was raised a Catholic, and that I also knew I hadn't been long on the earth in terms of concurrent lives, only a couple of lifetimes, and that my roots were in non-human realities. I was shown myself as aliens. That's a fraught word, but as non-humans. So I put my foot down and said, okay, I want something I can hold on to. I need something concrete. So my mantra was often, because I was in a guide anyway, my mantra was, I'm, um, I believe this experience I'm having. Early on, I didn't know it was called astral travel. I believe this experience I'm having is for my highest good. I believe this is a good thing. I believe I'm learning from this. I believe it's in my highest good. So I'd sit down with myself and meditate upon this notion that this thing that was happening to me was in my highest good, and I wanted it to continue. Okay, so it was happening spontaneously, but I was saying, "Yeah, baby, let's go," kind of thing. And then when I put my foot down, I thought, okay, I remember getting quite upset because the whole past life thing came. Aliens were coming in. I was even shown my own death, that kind of stuff, and it was very personal. Then I thought, give me something I can hold on to. And that was when my guides rocked up. So there's a saying in shamanic circles. I've since done like a shamanic course, years ago. It was a really good one with the way of the shaman is a school of shamanic thought. This is when I was piecing things together. So this was about 20 years ago. I did this course when I was back in Australia. And they talk in shamanic circles, they talk about that the spirits have mercy. When I did the shamanic course was after I met my spirit guides, but I like this notion that your guides want what is best for you. So it's kind of like a game you can play, and this is where you kind of stamp and run around like a little kid, being kind of demanding. So I was kind of demanding. I don't want breadcrumbs. I don't want anything too cryptic. I want something to hold on to. And I was very earnest in this and very serious in this intention. So I was meditating a few times a day, lying down saying, okay, because I knew I was going to go out of body. I was saying, give me an experience that I can hold on to. Give me something personal. Give me something that makes more sense than what's going on right now. And that was when it happened. So once again, this was an interesting one. It happened in the middle of the night. I remember it vividly. It wasn't just before dawn. It was in the middle of the night. And then these vibrations came like the whoa, 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 whoa kind of thing that woke me up. Often it's the heart chakra. And then I found myself catapulted out of the astral. And often when you have a spontaneous astral experience where it's something you're not guiding, okay, you often have the feeling of really being catapulted. So it's like there's a focused dimension that is pulling you toward it. It's a real feeling of a vortex, okay? So I'm pulled into this thing, and all of a sudden I'm very conscious. I don't even go through a void, and I find myself in this kind of, it's like a medieval inn, like a pub, you know, lots of stone, lots of wood, fireplace, very cozy. I'm sitting around a very real wooden bench. In fact, uber real, like you can sense the wood. When I say uber real, you can sense it without having to touch it. Opposite me is a guy, quite a youngish guy. He probably would have been around my age at that stage, so my 30s. And there was a woman to my right. So he was opposite me. Woman to my right who was a bit older, probably in her 40s. Both wearing kind of natural colors, like linens, that kind of stuff, and just looking at me. And I thought, okay, they're looking very intently at me. I'm looking around. I decide to get out because I'm feeling a little bit boxed in, even though I wanted, you never know how you're going to react. I pull myself awake. Next thing, I'm back. They're there again. I'm thinking, okay. Then they start telling me about myself, and they start telling me about the seven planes of existence. I say, where am I? They say, we're in Gwyneth. I'm making jokes. I say, yeah, like Gwyneth Paltrow, huh? And they have a giggle. And funnily enough, later on I was to Google the whole Gwyneth thing. So Gwyneth, spelled EDD at the end, was a Welsh place, a medieval place of spiritual significance. So it looks like Gwynedd, the way it's spelled, but it's pronounced Gwyneth in Welsh. And funny enough, this looked like this. I had the feeling of a Welsh medieval inn. Why Wales? No idea. Doesn't matter. Anyway, so they're telling me we're in Gwyneth, and I'm cracking jokes about Gwyneth Paltrow. Meanwhile, they're telling me about myself, about my life, what I've been through. certain pivotal moments, when I was a musician, when I wanted to stop music but went back into music, and a few childhood traumas. So they're kind of how I feel. And guides do speak to you personally. They're very logical, um, quite serious, but they were kind of creating credibility, I guess. And once again I pulled out of this scene because I thought this is too hyper real. And it's funny because I'd been asking for it, but when it actually happened, it was like, whoa. So I pull out. Then once again I'm back. So I'm not even asleep. I just close my eyes and I feel the astral vortex, the wind around me, sucking me straight back into this very cozy medieval inn. I can see it so clearly now. And they're doing the psychoanalysis, and I'm just asking them stuff about. I'm even insulting them. It's really weird what comes out of you, because this was early on in my astral career, and I was a relatively, probably normal 30 odd, slightly angry young man, perhaps, and you're just kind of detoxing what you are resonating. And they were very patient. So I went back there 3 times and I woke up, I forced myself awake. I thought, okay, this is really weird because they're speaking so personally. It's so real. It's just so in my face. I'm being, being psychoanalyzed by these people. And also, when I'd asked them on the third time, who are you? They said, we're your guides. We are your guides. So I'm coming back thinking this is kind of bullshit, basically. Next, I'm pulled back, and the female guide is with me, and I'm in this beautiful field. I can see it so clearly. It's like this beautiful grass. It's like a sunset situation, and the grass is gently long grass in the breeze. And she's showing me um, the energy system of a human body. So she's kind of showing me her own chakras. I never heard of chakras of that kind of talk. It was very spiritual significance, and it's funny because it led me, into doing what I do is basically a full-time energy healer and an astral traveler, and teacher of that and that kind of stuff. And she's also showing me like this holographic version of the chakras, and she was showing me like these cones of light going out the back and front of this kind of holographic body. She's telling me about the various bodies um, of the human, the system. And what I realized is this chakra system is actually actually belongs to the higher bodies, whereas the human system integrates with the chakra system. So when you speak of the chakras, you're actually talking directly to these higher bodies. Anyway, she's showing me things like auras and all this kind of stuff. I just noticed I glitched then, which is interesting. She's showing me this auras and this kind of stuff, and I'm actually insulting her. It's a beautiful scene. This is a lovely woman. I remember she's blonde. She's nice. She's just a nice being, just a very nice presence. As I said, middle aged. Anyway, I'm busy seeing this beautiful scene, just the incredible vibrant colors in the astral. I mean, showing these chakras and seeing lights and colors, these translucent bodies. Meanwhile, there's this incredible grass, there's this beautiful nature, and the sun is there. And I'm just soaking all of this in. And I'm insulting her. I'm saying like sexually derogatory things. I mean, I was even surprising myself at why I do that. At the time, when I was there, I was thinking, I was really feeling hijacked. It was kind of good, all this personal stuff, but I was really feeling, holy shit, like I'm being taken. I'm not even asleep. I'm being energy body napped. My mind is just being taken out of my physical body, um, without really having a say. That was the feel at the time, even though I wanted it to happen, and it was beautiful. It was positive. Anyway, so I'm there. She's telling me these things. I had no interest in these so-called spiritual kind of happenings and doings and new age talk. I had at that stage no interest. So I'm saying these things to her. Then she just stops and she kind of smiles. She takes it very well, and she just looks at me eye to eye, and she says, "Greg, we've been watching you for some time. Why are you so sad?" And I remember it was so personal, so in my face. And when a being says it like that, your name, they call themselves guides, they're pulling you, they've been psychoanalyzing you. And then she says, why are you so sad? And I remember I came to after it, and I often, like the classic signature, um, you know, you sort of ka-wow kind of astral experience, you will wake up, like after lucid dream, I guess, but it's just this full-bodied rippling. And I wake up kind of, and it really hits me strongly, but somehow not, I'm kind of crying a bit from it, even though I wasn't crying in the scene. And she kind of hit something in the heart. It was like a twang, like an arrow hitting me. And immediately I realized that even though I was a pretty happy-go-lucky guy, I did have this kind of deep sadness with me. And I sort of, it's somehow this kind of astral light, if you like this awareness from the astral and from your guides in particular, because they do give that kind of a detached perspective on yourself. And this is something you develop yourself in the astral, a detached perspective on yourself. It kind of just thawed. I just, after a couple of minutes, I just thought, oh, wow, I was really carrying a lot of ice around my heart. And I realized it was actually past life stuff, this life stuff, being brought into the world in pretty traumatic circumstances as a child. And so I realized, and looking back, I did wonder why the hell why was I on planet Earth as a little kid? Like, I never actually wanted to be. I was very cognizant of the fact as a little child that, hang on, why must I be? So I did have kind of this philosophical wrestling match with myself from childhood with being, wanting to fade away, wanting to hide. Was a people pleaser as a kid growing up. When things got too much, I just sort of move away. So that's by the by. But what's interesting is um, it did lead me to a time of introspection and seeking out at that stage of my life like a really good psychotherapist, and just for the first time in my life talking about certain stuff, and that was good. That was what I needed at the time. So it was kind of like my guide put me on that path, but it wasn't just like, oh, Greg, why are you so sad? It was like when it's something like that comes from the astral, and these beings calling themselves my guides. It was like, like being kind of flung around the room, in a million miles an hour, being sort of slung against the wall, and kind of, like the coyote and Roadrunner, the coyote kind of sliding down the wall, rather bruised. So it was the perfect time to get such a spiritual bruising, if you like. And these guides have popped up since. This female guide, out of interest, um, ages in human years. She's an ex-human. I often would hear her voice. I knew the sound of her voice, and I don't know any other human voice. She had a human voice, but I don't know any other human who talks like that. So she would teach me things about the astral, like, connecting to higher frequencies above my crown, this kind of thing, and to go to. So she would teach me astral techniques. So it seems these early guides, these beings who call themselves guides, kind of broke open um, the whole notion of, I guess, New Age spirituality. This notion that we do have guides, we do have higher selves, all these things, and also she'd pop up occasionally in front of me, like when I'm sleeping. She'd be sitting there and she'd tell me something cryptic, like, you lead a very comfortable life, don't you, Greg? And if she says you lead a very comfortable life, Greg, that means things will get very uncomfortable. So she'd push me out of my comfort zone. That seemed to be her role, was to push me out of my comfort zone or to get me questioning. And when a guide gets you to question, you can't have to. Your body goes. It's not like, oh, well, should I? Is that a good idea? It's a full bodied knowing that you're going to question. So it's not really a choice. It becomes. Sorry, just move this a bit closer. This microphone. It becomes kind of involuntary and compulsory. Really, you have to do it. The other guides, and very soon I'll get into how to bring about this connection with guidance and exercises you can do. Just touch upon it anyway. The other one was a very tall alien guide, or there's a couple of aliens. There's one short, very androgynous, who wears a silver bodysuit, bald. This guide, he would wake me up from lucid dreams. So even wake me out of just dreams. And what he'd do is, I'd be in a dream and he'd give me a hug, or I'd kind of hug him. I'd know him, her, or whoever it was. And then I seemed to know him or her in the dream. And then he sort of pushed me back and look at me, and that would bring me to. because he didn't really like to be hugged. So this character, yeah, very spacey, bald, small, androgynous, not too many features, unusual. And what she would do is generally, I remember when I first met him, he or she said, Greg, said, so guides do call you by your name, said, Greg, I'd like to show you something. And that was when I was shown. That was when I was shown all these lasers came into my brain. So I went into the astral from this experience. I went from a dream to a lucid dream, into an astral phase, where I was getting these lasers hitting my brain. Then I was having screens fitted. I could feel it. Data was being processed. I could see the little four, like video, look at a video screen being fitted, and all this data going to my brain. So I realized that this particular alien, if you like, or non-human, would show me high-tech stuff, and I'd be often shown very high-tech apparatus would be shown into my brain. I don't know where that's going to go. Maybe it's something for the future. Maybe it's something to manifest from these other realms. But he would show me tech. And then there's this other guide who's also non-human, who's kind of like a violety blue color, very tall. He basically would show me alien activities when they're doing breathing things. I mentioned this at this workshop, Marie, who was just there a second ago. So they seem to have specific roles. And there's also, and they pop up every now and then. Now, and there's also this particular being that carries me when I go astral. So when I'm flying, this being is like a faceted, translucent human. All you do is you see that it's like a diamond shaped, like faceted, as in. And this being, actually, I became aware of it when I was flying in the astral. I became aware of a pressure on my ankles. I looked back, saw it, and it spoke to me in a non-human language, non-earthly language, and spoke like through a some kind of vibrating thing. It was like through some kind of speaker. It was like very high tech, an amplifier of some kind, in words that were not earthly, and even a weird crackling kind of. But I knew the meaning, and the meaning was, you don't need to know this, so don't get obsessed in this. And of course, I did a little bit. But what I realized is, it gave me more confidence to be more adventurous. If I'm in a tricky situation in the astral, or I'm having to make a certain decision, or I'm not sure about something, one of these guides will show up next to me. When I'm flown, the guide is flying me. Occasionally, the guides come through into 3D and come into the 3D, like into my bedroom when I'm lying there and awake. So they all have some kind of function, and I think to cultivate your guidance is something you can really do, just to call them in and ask for that conscious experience. When they started showing themselves to me, I knew their signature. So then you can kind of get on their wavelength, and like a friend, you know how a friend feels, like if you embrace that friend, how they feel, and that can often get you going astral. So the sense of these guides, their vibration, if you like, the vibe they gave off is within me. And often, even thinking of this, couple of these guides, I feel my throat chakra started to palpitate. Guides, communication, throat chakras, blue. You think of, we talk about Archangel Michael, the blue color of Archangel Michael protecting you, guiding you, that kind of stuff. Blue is a very good color in the astral. Often I'll have blue flashes, and I feel they are from my guide. So that's in this reality. If somebody says something that's truth or important, there'll be a big blue flash over that person. Or sometimes I'll say a certain thing and I'll see a big blue flash. So that tells me they're present. So the color blue is an excellent way to connect with your guides. And also what I found is guides are actual vibrations. So when you feel these frequencies waking you up in the astral, they are your actual guides around you. That's what I found. These actual frequencies, dropped out again. These actual guides emit a frequency. So an astral guide, if we're talking spirit guides, astral guides, and we can get into spirit guides as in animal guides, that's something we can also talk about. But we have a whole retinue of these guides. We have they're all around, and they are also parts of your soul coming back to you. What the shamanic school of thought is like this notion of soul retrieval. So when you start to bring back your energies and your psychic potential, if you like, your full energetic potential, you're actually bringing back greater guidance into your field. You're calling upon these realms, and they protect you and they guide you. So after a while, you kind of fall into a bit of a deja vu and trust state in the 3D, and that's when your guides are kind of um, doing their shifts. And so you've got to cultivate them. So to feel their frequency, but first of all, if you haven't experienced seeing guides in the astral, to call them in, to write it down. I give thanks for meeting my guides, out of body. I give thanks for a conscious meeting of souls with my guides. I give thanks, and to call them in. The color blue, as I said, is very good. To fall asleep just thinking of this beautiful, loving guidance, because once you realize that it is a guided experience, a lot of the fears drop away in this reality and the astral. Remembering the astral precedes the physical, therefore, any guidance you get in the astral also moves into the physical. So everything precedes the physical. So if you can cultivate astral guidance, it will also kind of move into your physical domains. Do let me know any questions. While I'm just pausing for a sec and I'm playing with these things, I teach a little bit about the guidance in, here we go, my online course. You can go to gregdoyle.podia.com. Is that a website? Yeah, that's a website. Yeah. That is a website. Yeah. So, yeah, that you can also find on my normal page, but that is in that particular course. I go a fair bit into guides and cultivating that awareness of guides, also setting up vortexes around yourself, such as the vision behind you. Setting up a vortex around yourself gets you into that astral vibe, and that astral vibe gets you to meet your astral guide. So what I'm realizing is frequencies that are around us are actual beings. They exist. So when frequencies wake you up at night, they are your astral guides kind of talking to you, like the astral wind humming. Your guides are kind of on this wind, if you like. So to call them into being, there's so many meditations you can do to cultivate that. Like meditation is far more powerful than you think. If you can get into that meditative phase, because when you get into the meditative phase, you're moving into out of the beta brainwave state, which is the 3D flight or fight, typically, where it's an existential brain state where we're, it's um, it's 3D and it's very kind of flight or fight vibe. But if you once you move into like a alpha and a theta wave, if you can take and beyond that, if you can take these intentions to meditate on meeting your guides, even um, fly yourself in meditation to a beautiful mountaintop. I might even do a meditation, put that up soon, and to imagine yourself being in a very high frequency. So we are in an archetypal realm, as in 3D. So if you imagine yourself being at mountaintops, even go to physical mountains, but above the collective, and even meditate on visiting a very high mountain, and you're safe, of course, meditation, and then connecting to your guides there. And if you can move into a meditative state with an intention to meet your guides, you can actually pull your guides in. You can actually meet them halfway, and things can start to happen. So I really recommend you cultivating that. Let me know if you've got any questions. Also, the spirit guide, as in animal guide, is something really big. I remember one of my first animal guides was the black wolf that I've mentioned probably a few times. And this was after I'd been to a healer. It preceded my astral experiences. And I probably mentioned this recently. But anyway, she was, this particular woman was quite bizarre. I remember she was firing energy through her fingers into my gums. It was like a really like full on. Like I thought, have you washed her hands? And she was saying I haven't processed aggression correctly, whatever. And she would. I remember that night, my gums had gone crazy, and my jaw was kind of moving, and I was burning up in my gums and everything. Next morning, I'm confronted with this black wolf, this growling, holographic black wolf with these vivid green eyes, grey chin, growling, dark black wolf. For 2 days, It was in front of me, a holographic black wolf. So, needless to say, I was rather distraught. Couldn't go to work. I was a musician at the time. After those 2 days, I, I was freaking out. I'm looking, imagine like looking at this camera at you through a holographic wolf that was growling at me. And now, a few of you would have heard the story, but it's a pivotal one. And then a couple of days later, I had this fantastic argument. As I said, I'd been a people pleaser when I was younger and didn't like confrontation too much, didn't want the other person to feel uncomfortable, probably didn't want to feel uncomfortable myself, took too much of the charge of the subject on. So after a couple of days, I had this really fantastic argument with a flatmate of mine about something. Was able to stay present, was able to state my thoughts without losing it, without getting foggy, without getting too much charge, without retreating from the situation. And I felt good. I sort of felt empowered. After this argument, the wolf that was there licked me on the face and went into the corner and curled up into a ball. Now, I never heard of the notion of animal guides. That was something, what? So this black wolf is in my field. This black wolf is one of my spirit guides as well. So we have a whole retinue, as I've said. There's also other guides, and there's other animals that I've met. As I said, I urge any of you to try. I mean, you can get there through meditation. One great meditation is with the animal guides, is to ask to meet your spirit guides, and if it wishes to be an animal spirit, you can connect with those ones. We all have them, seemingly. And when you fall into a meditative state, it's good to do sitting up because you can slightly go asleep. And all of a sudden, if you see the animal from 3 different angles, it sounds weird, but the animal spirit guide will show it to yourself 3 times. When I was in that Welsh inn, 3 times I was taken into that Welsh medieval inn and met those 2 people. So there seems to be some kind of protocol here with the guides that it's like we've got choice. You think of mind, body, spirit, the 3s. Often my protocol when I go to a body, I'm going to leave my physical body, I'm going to experience such and such, I'm going to remember the experience. I'll say 3 times. I'm going to leave my physical body, I'm going to remember such and such. I'm going to experience such and such. I'm going to remember the entire experience. I'll say it 3 times. So we think of hip hip hooray. That actually comes from an ancient Mongolian blessing. We don't even think. Why do we say hip hip hooray, hip hip hooray, hip hip hooray? So it's these vowels. It's the 3 times. Physical, mental, emotional, all these kind of things. 3D. We're in 3D, 3 dimensions. So the notion of 3 is interesting. So to ask to meet your guides and ask for 3 different perceptions of them, 3 different visions of them, and say that like the next 24 hours, I would like to have 3 meetings with my guides. I'd like to be shown my animal guide, whatever it is, three times. So once you connect that first time, then you have the energy of that. It's like a seal has been broken. When I say seal, it's like something that's not really sealed to protect you. It's a seal around kind of the sovereign consciousness of who you are. So you need to bust through that. See, imagine glad wrap around you. Imagine swimming in the ocean with glad wrap around you. Not a good experience around your face. So you want to pop that and actually feel it. So you've got to call it in. I wouldn't have called this stuff in had I not had those experiences. So I think to I was lucky, I'd given a free pass, you could say. Maybe that was just my way, but I'm sure you've all had some kind of experience of some kind of guidance. It emboldens you to go further into adventuring because when you're out of body, you are guided. And when I think that now, when I go out, and if there are any kind of questionable beings in the lower astral realms, they avoid me. So I'm tending to think my guides are with me. Like even if I don't consciously see them, they're there. Or on another dimension, your guides are actually an aspect of you. So they can be, okay, this particular blonde woman told me she was an ex-human and she's come back as a guide. and she doesn't come into human form. She stays in these higher realms. So I think you've got to realize they're listening out for you. They're very real. They're not as cryptic as we think. We ask our highest, like our higher self also exists. So you can also call that is also a guide. I haven't seen my higher self. I've just heard my higher self's voice through my crown as through a resonator. It's always very resonant, kind of a very full-on voice, but it is my voice. He knows more than I know mortally, and he has the ability to show me things in the astral and take me places. So he is also a guide. So it's even good to write them down. Like when I write down all my guided experiences, I have this whole team of guides. So I call upon them. And once again, as I said, in shamanic circles, they say the spirits have mercy. If you call upon them and kind of feign, not feign suffering, but just kind of like, okay, guys, I'm frustrated. Come on, give me an answer, and use this emotional grist or this emotional energy in your favor, because in the end, it's all just energy. So if you've got emotional, you really want to know something, you know, go into your zero gravity chair or go into your couch and lie down for hours. Get up there in the middle of the night and go, okay, I want to meet my guides. Put yourself in a semi-seated position so you can't sleep properly. And once again, the spirits have mercy. Your guides have mercy upon you. They don't want you to suffer. They want what is best for you. They really do. So you've got to call them in and meet them halfway. So go into an experience that maybe isn't so comfortable when you're lying there, like sit in the dark, maybe in a room that you're a bit scared or something, and bring about a bit of energy that is a bit different. Get out of your comfort zone and call that in. So that's my advice with that. Let me know if there's any questions, guys, that you might have. Just clicking stuff here to see. Okay, and just while I'm doing that, I'm still experimenting with stuff here. Oh yeah, and I've also got this 7-day astral challenge on my website, which is quite good. And that takes you like it feeds you 7 days in a row just to get into that mindset. And I think there's one with guides. Well, I'm doing a second 7-day one now, which I will do cultivating guidance and how to meet that. Because I think when you know that they're on your side and that you are being looked after, you see then these outer realms of existence as far more benevolent than maybe you do when you haven't been out. And once again, it's not an add-on. For me, it's 3D that's the add-on. It's really a taking away from these layers of kind of calcification in our aura, and that's these layers around us that stop us from experiencing these high realms. So my advice is, yeah, try the 7-day challenge. Is good. That's a really good intro into it. It's very cheap. Anyone can try it. It's just kind of like 15-minute kind of meditations and some techniques, 7 days in a row. You can repeat them as many times as you want, and so you get sent the video each day, kind of stuff. And that's on my website. So, but do let me know if you've got any questions on this. I think the animal way in is very good, and I think animal guidance is something that I remember as a kid also being bitten by a tiger snake and being unconscious for 24 hours because I got to the hospital quite late because I was only 10 years old. And therefore I thought, someone said, well, apparently for life, apparently at that stage they told me that you can get bitten by a tiger snake and you're immune. So I have that tiger snake venom in me. So there's also that very real connection you have with animals, like in 3D as well. There's actually, because we are in the realms of the archetype here, so there's animals that you're perhaps attracted to in this realm or that you've had encounters with. Like I've had encounters with a tiger once, a real tiger in a cage that was dumped into a supermarket car park when I was living in Spain. They're not so good with the animals there. It's a tiny cage, and these tigers and lions were kind of sitting there and lined up, and they couldn't even move. And I was in a very kind of, some of you might know this, but I was in a very kind of high vibrational state. I wouldn't suggest to do this at home. But I went up and put my hand in the cage, and I really felt sorry for these tigers. And there was a one lion and a few tigers. And I just kind of put my hand on the tiger's paw in the cage. And I remember the tiger just looked up at me like, "Are you mad?" The others went, "Who?" And then one of the zoo guys behind me, because they hadn't put up fencing, and just screamed and ran over. But I remember thinking, that's interesting. And even just last night, I had a big cat dream, and it's often very benevolent. So there are animals lurking, um, in the higher realms, high dimensional realms, and also this reality is a great testing ground where if you're having interactions with certain animals again and again, or you have certain attractions, then often there's the spirit aspect of that animal trying to communicate with you. So in the astral, you can literally talk to these animals. It's quite amazing. I know it's going slightly off the topic, but there is still that aspect of guidance. And then after a while, when you realize you have this whole kind of army of guides around you, that kind of fortifies your field and protects you as well, naturally. Like, you don't always have to think about it. So I sense my guides around me. I sense them pulling me through this reality. Um, so there's more surrender. There's more faith, even when it looks like this reality is some breed of shitstorm. Even in my personal life or in the outer life, it's not. I know it's not. I know that that's just what's being beamed, or what I'm beaming back at myself. So, uh, the yeah, fortification is a good way of putting it. If you imagine these guides around you, actually at all times, kind of on shift duty perhaps, but calling them in. And once you've met them once or twice or so, then you can call them, that signature, and you can call them in again. You'll know what I mean by signature once you've met them. To imagine embracing them, to imagine calling them in. The other, I think, great guidance, particularly with the astral, is this notion of a vortex, the namesake of this particular live stream that I'm doing each week. And you can set a vortex up around you. One simple astral vortex is by just, sorry, I'll just get rid of this thing here. I'm not too good at multitasking. I'm thinking that's not a bad thing. One simple, hang on, sorry, yep, good. One simple exercise is to imagine a vortex around you. And when I say vortex, I think I've gone into this in one of these other episodes, but it's worth to mention again, because once again, this is also a guidance, because guidance is also like funneling you, channeling you to an astral experience. So to set a vortex around yourself, if you close your eyes now, just imagine like a crystalline column of light spinning very quickly around you anti-clockwise, very quickly, and it starts to get a kind of a resonant tone. When it goes around you, it's a bit like a sound bowl, like a crystal sound bowl in quick motion. You start to get a woo, 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 woo. You start to get that kind of frequency in your aura, even though you might not be able to hear it. So you set that up in your imagination when you're sitting somewhere still. Even better in the dark is very good, to have this like crystalline light going around you. Then to set another, and this column of light goes straight up into the astral realms. Just think of it, it's going up into these higher dimensions. That's all you need to think. You can go as high as you want. Don't be afraid of it, and have it going right down beneath you, and even connecting with the central core crystal of the earth. That gives it a bit more vibrancy, a bit more power. And then you're beaming from the earth your signature of this vortex. Think everything is spinning, like our cells, solar system, Milky Way galaxy. Everything's a spin. And then outside of this column of crystal light, imagine another column going just as fast in a clockwise direction. Then you get this kind of torque between the two. You get this friction, and you want this friction in your toroidal field. Just have that going, and imagine it moving to high dimensions, this real light. When you can be in a meditative state, ideally, okay, you want to be sitting up for this. You want to be doing it in the dark is very good, or just with a little light on, just something where your eyes can really rest, or even put something over your eyes, like speaking of which, a really good thing to get on this topic. These things are called mindfold. It's excellent. So it's an eye um, mask, and it lets nothing in at all. So there's just no light whatsoever, even in a very light room. You have absolute pitch black. You can only really do it on your back or sitting up because it's a bit bulky there. But that's really, you can't rely on your side, is what I'm saying. But that's excellent to do this kind of work. I like to keep my ears open so I don't plug them. So I think at night it's best to do it when it's very late. The reason why it's good when it's dark is the collective is just wound down a bit. There's less noise going on. There's less collective noise going on in the astral. So when it's nighttime passing over the earth, and as I said, particularly before dawn, there's an astral breeze that comes over the earth, and all of your astral guides are kind of moving, or interdimensional guides, whatever you want to call them, spirit guides. They're moving, if you like, in this kind of astral wind over the earth, and that's when you want to connect with them. So to sit somewhere where you're kind of sitting up, but your head is actually, has some kind of support, so you can let your head go. So you can kind of fall asleep, but kind of more sitting up than lying down. And so you get this vortex going. And remember, we are in an archetypal realm. We have up, down, left, right, whereas really there is no up or down. In fact, what I heard recently, I had a client who told me that actually the South Pole is the North Pole, the North Pole is the South Pole, because opposites attract. He's a scientist. He's actually a what do you call aerospace person. And you know how opposites attract, like magnets, the opposite attracts. If you have the same, so when we say North Pole, when North Pole, that's actually the South Pole. The North faces the North Pole, South faces the South Pole. So if South faces the North Pole, the North faces the South Pole. So in fact, the Earth's the other way around anyway. There is no up and down, okay? But we are in an archetypal realm, whereas we have gravity and all this kind of stuff. So we use this illusion to service. So you can just think of this column going up, and that up representing the higher realms, and being kind of beamed out, connecting with your earth chakra, which is actually connected to the central core crystal of the earth. So you use the energy of the earth to amplify this. Okay, so you're using the elements, if you like, to amplify things, and that's the beauty of the 3Ds, that we have the elements. The elements are kind of our touch with these magical higher realms. They all sort of contain magic, really. So you get the vortex happening, and that is creating this connection to the astral, the high dimensions. And that is also a bit of a guide, because you're in some kind of control here, that guidance moving up. As I've said to a few of you, when I first got this vortex happening, it was really cool. It was like I heard this. I just sort of gone under in meditation as I was setting up. So that's what you're looking for, some sign. I was still quite alert. And as I went under with this vortex in mind spinning, one anti-clockwise, one clockwise, I heard a smashing of glass. I heard a woman scream out from above. And I thought, that's fantastic. I've made a connection. So that in itself is guidance too. And that vortex is my vortex. That has my signature around it. I've created it. So that also gives me empowerment in the astral. Your guides get to know your own vortex, your own signature, and you can get that vortex whizzing in your energy field whenever you like. I know it sounds kind of obtuse and kind of weird, but these are the things I've learned. Malgosia, if that's how you say it. Lovely to see you again tonight. This is great info. Really enjoying listening to your wisdom. Oh, good. Yeah, look, as I've said, I'm just a seeker, and I think everyone is. And because having been initiated into the astral as I have been, I will therefore look for things that because it is a promoting experience there. So I'll then look for techniques and things that can take me back there. And often I'm shown things in the astral. As I said, one of these things that the female guide showed me was to, like, if you close your eyes now, you won't probably hear it now when I'm talking, but at night, okay, when it's really dark, you can try this tonight. You're lying in bed and just think above your head. Remember, it doesn't matter if you're lying down, above is still, parallel to the floor because it's still above your head. But as you're lying down above your crown chakra, you put your awareness as high as you can. This also trains you to go astral. and you listen for a frequency above your head, because we have these mini chakras above our head. They're kind of like a harmonic sequence above our head. And even now I can hear some of these tones. And after a while, you will hear a very high tone. You'll start to hear different tones above your head. It's not hard to do. And you tune into the highest tones you can, the highest frequencies you can above your head. And these are literally, once again, your guides. These are your guiding frequencies, if you like the vortex. They're above your head. They're your signal. So this is in your field. This is your guidance. If you focus above the head, listen for the highest frequency you can possibly tune in on. You'll start to hear them. Um, in the dead of night is the best when it's quiet. You'll hear this frequency, and more you focus on this frequency, it'll start to widen in its bandwidth. It'll literally start to widen. How I take that to be is, and it's funny because I've got some of these ring lights above me, but a bit like the vortex. How I take that to be is that's part of that vortex coming into play. That frequency is a gateway. You've all seen these show a while back, a Stargate, that notion of Stargate. Well, they know you have Stargates above you. You literally have these, like, if we separate them, they're kind of like those ring lights all around you. Okay. When you bring them all down on top of each other, all the different dimensions, if you like, then it's like a solid crystal column around you, like a light column. When you separate them, they become like these rings. So if you focus on these higher frequencies above you, listen to very highest ones, and it starts to get wider and wider and wider, and that can precipitate an astral experience. I was only taught that by one of my guides. I'd never read it before. So the experiences for me, the adventure and the joy is to know that there is a reality that, to the best sense, very much impinges on this reality. It very much feeds into this reality. That reality, that higher reality, that higher frequential reality where we know more about ourselves, is pulling us toward it. It's all a win-win. We're all going to go there eventually. We're all going to experience these higher realities consciously anyway. It's going to happen. It's a question of preparing yourself for it, and you want to be as conscious as you can. When you get toward the end of perhaps this lifetime, or even before. We don't know what's going to happen. So, if you've seen the movie Contact with Jodie Foster, I saw that movie after I started having astral experiences. That also there was this kind of what would you call it? Kind of talk, that kind of what's the word? Friction kind of machine where she was able to get out. So yes, that's good. My goes. You definitely give it a go. You do want to give it a go for sure. Just at the moment, it feels like just a theory or a dogma. The astral is not about dogma. It's about experiential kind of doing. It's a full-blooded, full-bodied, as in full-bodied, your higher-bodied experience. And once you have that experience a few times, you can't shake it off, because it's more you than this. Okay, not to deny this, but this is not as real as that. So that's the more closer to the prime reality, is what I'm saying. And the prime, you can't be denied the prime reality. It doesn't matter what's going on here. It doesn't matter what they're doing to the water, the air, what politics, what they're doing with in space. We cannot be denied these prime realities. You can be distracted. Your energies can be distracted, but you are not denied them. So this is where guidance is kind of quintessential to the astral experience, and to know that it has your back. Guidance is all around you at all times. One good book I was led to after the guidance thing was, I'll actually find it. If you stay there 1 second, do not move. I'll just get the book and show you. You can probably hear me as I'm talking, but I've got a lot of books. This book I should be able to find. I have found it. Yeah. Yeah, I forgot what it's called. No, that's the wrong book. Hang on, 1 second. Bzzz. I might not be able to find this. I've got a lot of books, guys. Yeah. No, if you're still there, this is an unusual podcast because I just left the building, haven't I? But yeah. Oh, hang on. No, it's okay. Oh yes, here it is. Found it. I remember. Thanks for being patient. You've probably come across this book. I read it many years ago when I started to have these guided experiences. And I remember it kind of helped. It was kind of good. It's a general book on probably how to channel generally. It's an oldie but a goodie. And this is like, you can see the back there, what it says. Maybe. Probably out of focus, isn't it? Go here, camera, go. Anyway, it says you can learn to channel. So, recorded history, it has been thought that only those with a special gift could connect to a spirit guide, the higher self, or universal mind. And you can, and this was good because I thought I'm not mad. I thought other people are doing it. I remember that was one of the first books I got. And it made me feel less alone because I thought things were rather freaky. But it was good, but freaky. So, look, any more questions? Oh, yeah, Marie, you got a question here. I have met my guardian angel in meditation years ago, but saw him just once. Yeah, asked to see it again. Look, often things can come in I remember hearing my female guide first actually in meditation before I actually met her physically or met her in the astral. And that was the voice. I was just meditating before I'd been astral, just meditating with this group that my psychotherapist had set up when I was living in Vienna. And I heard a female voice, and it wasn't even that deep. And I heard this really strong female voice say, "There is only joy." And I remember thinking, that's absolute bullshit. There's suffering, there's all this. And I was going through a lot at the time. But I remember thinking that's my life, is to prove that there is only joy. So often you might hear voices or in meditation see them, or what you do is ask to see them again. And often people do see their guardian angels like that in meditations. And I just asked to see them again. And, to get to, I can't remember exactly what was in that book, but I remember there's some handy exercises to recreate things. So I just think that intention to call your guardian angel towards you, and to, as I said, the spirits have mercy. So if you put yourself in a situation that's a bit uncomfortable, maybe sitting on the couch at night, something where I know it sounds weird, where you're a little bit vigilant. Like at sleep, I'm not at all vigilant. I can just let go. I'll sleep deep if I want to. But to put like an eye mask on and to lie somewhere where you're aware of your surroundings often doesn't take you too far into sleep, and that's not bad to give an intention. So I find if you're a bit uncomfortable, like camping not in a tent, like camp outside under the stars with a fire, but no protection, if you know what I mean. So yeah, to try that out is quite good. Yeah. Pleasure with the book. So anyway, look, good luck with that, Marie, with trying to meet them. But the fact is that you have that guide now in your aura, so I believe you can meet them again consciously. Look at that book. Yeah, I've just started channel during my Reiki sessions, so this will be good. Yeah, and you can learn Reiki to channel all sorts of things. Like for physical things, I'll bring Reiki through when I'm doing. Like years ago, I was doing this surf coaching course because I liked surfing, and I became a surf teacher for a little while. This is about 20 years ago. And it was really funny. I was up against all these PE teachers, and there I was, just a violinist and a Reiki person, and all these guys were super fit, much younger than me. And then when we had it was a bronze medallion or something, it was something simple. But when we had our race in the surf and we had to run, and I remember bringing the Reiki through, and I could just really feel this energy coming through me. As soon as I hit the water, I just went. I just remember dodging all the waves. I was just in sync with the water, came in, ran. I remember, in this field of about 25 guys, I came second, and they were looking at me going, how can this kind of Reiki guy who plays the violin beat us in a physical endurance race? It was so funny. And I wasn't even puffed. I remember channeling Reiki for that reason. Like there's anyone who channels stuff for energy healing, you can use it for other things as well, and you can bring that, and that is not an abuse of that energy, but just you can bring it into, I bring in Reiki when I do most things spiritual. I'll bring in Reiki in for protection, or Reiki to connect, and then I'll ask to. And there are also Reiki guides you have. I once had a guy who was a Romanian guy, and his wife was having Reiki, and I can practice this one as well, guys. I like doing this, so I'm a bit. There you go. The old little thing on there you go. There's my website if you want to check it out. But I was giving Reiki to someone, a Romanian woman, quite an old woman, and she had her husband with him. And he was a clairvoyant, and he was kind of an old dude. And he said, "Can I sit in the couch? Can I sit in while you're giving Reiki to my wife?" I said, "Sure." Anyway, he was sort of moving around. He was explaining what was going on with it, because I'm aware when I'm doing Reiki that I have guides coming in. And these are kind of Reiki guides. So you have guides for different reasons. It's like, various teams coming in. There's probably overlap. It doesn't really matter. And often I feel, and I call in my guides and the guides of the client. I call in my higher self and the higher self of the client, because I know it's real. I know higher selves are real and guides are real. So calling in all your allies is great. It's not going to water down what you do. Everything's in your favor, and you can sense it if it's a heart-based intention anyway. So to play with it, and I think, and that's what I love about Reiki, is that you don't have to be in an altered state to do it. You can be, sometimes a client might come and I've forgotten I have them, and they ring the bell. I go, "That's what I got Reiki now," and it works fantastically. It's not me; it's something beyond this mortal kind of perception of what I am. And so to know that we have these beings in our field that know us better than we know us, that they know where we're moving to in our lives, they know our goals better than we know them consciously. So call upon them. They are your allies. They're very real, more real than your physical body, in fact, more real than the 3D. They do impinge on the 3D, as in we're in an archetypal realm, so even animals are attracted to spirits. You can often get that sense in the 3D as well. So call upon all these things. Once again, get uncomfortable slightly when you're doing these meditations can be helpful as well. It's something different to try. So look, we're going to sign off now. You can always look back at this video whenever you want. Appreciate you all being here. Lovely seeing you all. I'll come up with another one next week. And I also have these podcasts I'm doing with Sol Rita and Taria and Phil Rice. It's on her station, Soul Station, but I download it to YouTube when we do them, and that's coming up the next couple of days as well. So good to see you all. I'm a little bit out of it because I had a fantastic massage today, followed by a magnesium bath, but I do like that every couple of weeks to have that. And I hope you all have a great week. And I'll even get some of these music things happening at some stage, but I'm a bit out of it now. So anyway, great to talk on this topic. Look back at the video if you need. I appreciate you joining me, and I'll see you next week in the Astral. Look, we'll get a bit of music in the Astral Vortex next week. And here it comes. End of the show. Pretty lame. I'll come up with something more mystical, I think. That's not particularly mystical. But thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time, guys. See you. And thanks.